creator economy has completely decentralized the media landscape in the past few months and has evolved so much. Brands no longer depend on any exclusive placement.
Biggest paradigm shift that was brought about by the creator economy was that change in the definition of a relationship between a brand and a consumer.
The power relies today on creators' voice and channels. We will continue to see this evolving as the time goes on.
When it comes to like working with creators over here in Asia, the one key thing is really to understand what does a creator or even a consumer uses a certain platform.
There is this mystification that creators, they behave the same in every market. It's so important for brands and also agencies to really deep dive into markets to understand how does creators behave and what type of social media exists in each market. Hi everyone, Maira Genovese here, founder and CMO of MG Empower, and this is our Influencer Marketing Uncover podcast. In today's episode, we'll be traveling all the way to Malaysia to meet with an incredible guest who is known for 9-year experience in the futurist market that has led him to become a thought leader when it comes to business growth, innovation, and insights into how to successfully tap into the Asian market. Today, I'm also here with Andrea Cortés, our Marketing Business Development Manager at MG Empower. And together, me and Andrea, we are very happy and grateful to be joined by Siang. Siang is a former VIP global business of Gushcloud International, one of the biggest market agencies in the Asian market. And today, he's an incredible thought leader going all around the world, sharing his knowledge about the industry. Andrea, so excited to have you here with me today, hosting this episode. So how are you and how do you feel about being part of our podcast as a co-host today?
Hi, Maira. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be joining you as a podcast co-host. I've been waiting so long for this. So thank you for the invite too on joining you. So I'm very excited to join you and our very special guest to discuss with us the ins and outs of the creator economy and what brands can learn from the Asian market to succeed. So Siang, welcome to MG Empower's Influencer Marketing Uncover podcast. Thank you for accepting our invite. We are very happy to have you with us today. So how are you? And could you please tell our audience a little bit more about you and your professional experience?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, dialing in all the way from Malaysia, my hometown. So I guess with the pandemic and lockdown, I'm doing as well as I could. This is not this glow. It's really from the light. It's really just been staying home, spending time with family. I think that's kind of like what I did. Just kind of took a break from everything, and staying here. But in terms of my professional experience, I was previously with a company called Gushcloud International. So we're an influencer marketing, talent management, and entertainment company. And I spent a good part of my career with them for the last 9 years. I spread myself kind of across like Asia Pacific as well. I started out in Malaysia, my hometown. And then I built up the office. I kind of went over to Philippines and Vietnam as well to set up Gushcloud over there. I spent a good time in Singapore as well, just kind of looking over the Southeast Asian region. And I took the opportunity 2 years ago to go to LA, just to enjoy that West Coast sun. And now I'm back, and good to be here and hopefully starting my own podcast stardom, with you guys.
Amazing, Siang. So excited to hear about your story. And actually, we here at MG Empower, we work with Gushcloud 2-3 years ago. I don't know if you remember, but we did a few campaigns together where, yes.
Was it?
Yes, where you guys supported us with our campaigns in Asia. So we had a great experience, and then so just great memories of working together, and very much looking forward to discuss this topic with you today, which is all about the creative economy, which we are seeing this everyone is talking about in Europe, in US. And of course, today we wanted to hear your perspective about the creative economy in Asia and what is going on there, how people are interacting with this new way of working with talent. So as we know, the creative economy has completely decentralized the media landscape in the past few months, and has evolved that so much that even now, brands no longer depends on TV ad, on radio ad, or any exclusive placement or media outlet, because you can use creators, right, to be driving, your conversion, driving your awareness. So the power relies today on creators' voice and channels, and this will continue to be. We will continue to see this evolving as the time goes on, especially now so many social medias like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter now are creating those tools where creators can really monetize from their own platform, creating their own shopping guides and so on. So, question to you to start this conversation. What do you think, of course, about, the key lessons that the creative economy is showing us and how this is evolving in Asia?
Sure. I guess like one key thing that was a biggest paradigm shift that was brought about by the creator economy was, and I'm not just talking about Asia, but around the world, is that redefinition of like that change in the definition of a relationship between a brand and a consumer. And creator really changed that concept of what a brand means, right? Because now they could self-publish content and foster communities. And that really changed how a brand should be interacting with the consumers. And we've seen that shift in brands whereby, they're opting for a more authentic approach in their content, especially. These days we've seen brands posting memes. They're resorting to a lot more authentic, like kind of like interaction with their consumers. And I think these are all like, coming from like creators. And I think that's kind of like the fundamental shift when it comes to, the relationship for brands to learn from the creators. But in Asia, I think like that's where like things kind of like gets a little bit complicated in a way. We all speak different languages. And the interesting part in Asia is that I think creators, especially or consumers, use the social media very differently. We kind of have like a unique place and a unique function for each platform. So I think like when it comes to like working with creators over here in Asia, the one key thing is really to understand what does a creator or even a consumer use as a certain platform? Because like, for example, just in Korea, I used to work with a lot of Korean creators, and when it comes to Instagram stories, they're kind of off limits for brands to work with. They see Instagram story as like a very intimate lens to their daily lives, so they don't expect any sort of like promotional activity or commercial activity happening in there. So which is very different when I was working in the US. So parts like that, it's something to take into account when it comes to working with creators, especially in Asia. And sometimes like we think that working with creators, everything's off limits. Every part of their lives it's kind of like part of that content creation process. But sometimes it's not. Certain aspects of creators' lives are kind of like off limits or culturally kind of insensitive to discuss on these platforms. So I would say when it comes to Asia, something is a little bit different is that, kind of like being sensitive to how creator uses a certain platform. And also ultimately kind of understanding that dynamic between the creator and their followers.
Very, very interesting. And I love the fact that you said it's that the difference between creators from Asia and creators from US, as you mentioned, or even Europe, because there is this mystification that creators they behave the same in every market, which is not true. Even from South America, like when you go to Brazil or to Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, it's so different. And I think it's so important for brands and also agencies to really deep dive into markets to understand how does creators behave and what type of social media exists in each market, and why, exactly you said, why consumer use certain platform, and then develop your creativity, your strategy around that. But market research is the key, and especially with the creators economy, because as you said, it's a new thing, but in Asia, in Europe, in the US. But this creator economy again is behaving differently in each market, because in Asia, for example, there are so many social platforms that doesn't even exist in Europe and US, right? So how to type into the creator economy, but understand what are each markets are evolving into that movement, right? So the rise of social commerce is very embedded with the creator economy, right? And Asia has transformed consumer purchase behavior in the past years, right? So brands, market strategies, and especially the live streaming, Asia is really ahead the game. So tell us a little bit more about the link of social commerce and live streaming, and then now with the creator economy.
Sure. You can't really talk about social commerce without talking about live streaming. So if I kind of dive too right into live streaming, so please forgive me. But maybe just a little background. Social commerce started out in Asia. It's very conversational, especially when e-commerce capabilities were still in its infancy. You would see a lot of product content on social feeds with kind of like a special call out to say, hey, message me if you would like this product. And then the transaction kind of happens off the platform, like they would pay each other using like, bank transfer. So that was kind of like the dawning ages of like social commerce, right? Very conversational. You see something you like, you talk to, the brand or the creator, and then you kind of like discuss like the transaction, right? But I think when live stream came about, it really changed the entire concept of social commerce. With live stream capability, I think like, especially I would say like the creative economy here in Asia kind of escalated that adoption. A lot of live casters kind of like came out of Asia. And I think with that, it brought about a different kind of like, it turned live stream shopping into like a big piece of what social commerce is today. So, and where do I begin with live stream shopping? So many. Well, I would say like, if I were to touch on live stream shopping, and I get very passionate about this, so please forgive me. I think the key thing about live stream commerce is really, it changed the way we look at engagement. Engagement kind of took on a different meaning, because like right now, to really succeed in live stream commerce, there's so many steps that one needs to like be able to do, right? And when I say one, it could be the brand, it could be the creator. I think first off, developing a live audience, that really takes a certain kind of like strategy to build up. I think that's really only the first hurdle that you need to get through. And then the second part is really, how do you build trust during that 30-minute on an hour session, and for them to keep coming back for multiple live stream sessions. I think that's kind of like a second hurdle as well. And the third hurdle is 30 minutes nonstop on an hour. How do you sustain interest for someone to log in and to command them to give you the time right here, right now for 30 minutes? And then lastly, for that sale to happen, how do you create a deal that is so instantaneously worthy that I want to buy it now? And I think that's kind of like the 4 key elements of what make live stream shopping such a beast in its own, that whenever I talk about social commerce, I immediately just kind of like jump into the deep ocean of like live stream commerce.
And I love the fact that you said that I'm passionate about live streaming as well, just to make that clear to you, so I can go very very in depth into that subject. Very interested. Like, how do you, because you said that one of the biggest challenges is like how to build that live audience and how to sustain the engagement. What is your advice? How to build a live audience? Because this is a very, very good question. Because we have been doing live streaming shopping, and then one of the things that we are navigating on trying to better understand is how to build that audience live.
I don't think there's like an ultimate answer, a one size fit all, but I have to say a lot of the creators that were really successful when it comes to live stream commerce took a page out of the old fashioned televised home shopping. I don't know if you remember, like, watching those infomercial and, there's all these little wacky experiments. I think a lot of the creators in Asia took and kind of transform it into their content. And I think on top of that, really leveraging on what fundamentally between a creator and a follower is that deep trust of that relationship, and kind of the transcending beyond just a photo, right? And if we were to watch a lot of the live stream in Asia, if you could understand the language, there's a lot of like trust building. Sometimes I feel like I'm really a friend, with the live stream shopper, even though I know I'm not. And I think that's kind of like the magic that really comes when it comes to building a live audience. It's really beyond the product or the brand. Go back to the fundamental relationship between your live audience, and then from there, incorporate and the deal or the product and the sale that you're trying to do, it needs to be in the interest of the consumer. And I think that's ultimately what builds trust. And I think that with that trust comes the live audience.
Yeah, and I think it's something very interesting that you said about trust, and coming into like the next not the next question, but the next topic to discuss is about how KOLs, as you call them in Asia, and influencers are coming into the mix, because we believe at MJ Power that with live stream, it goes beyond that customer brand relationship. There needs to be that third party that comes in with the trust of the audience, and that brings that human touch to the experience. Because apart from what you were mentioning about infomercials, it was very commercially driven. Every time you saw one of those, you knew that they were trying to sell to you. But now, what we're seeing with live stream and social commerce is that brands and creators are coming together to create an experience for the audience that goes beyond commercial. They're creating an atmosphere for the audience to have an experience that it's exclusive. It's exclusive for that real-time moment. It's not an infomercial that you're gonna see in the loop every morning. No, it's something special. And that special factor comes from those creators that are also like co-creating that experience with you, because they're like what you said, they are the ones that know how that specific channel works and what they want to share with the audience in that specific channel. So to move into that, like how have creators or KOLs in Asia nurtured this live stream strategy for brands?
Sure. And Andrew, just to add on to that, just to make it a little bit concrete, I would say the special sauce, it could be very different for different live stream creators, but I think entertaining or entertainment, if you were to watch, we all have watched like multiple live stream sessions, right? And I think ultimately, even if you're not buying into that deal, you walk off entertained, or like a good 30 minutes or an hour, right? And that entertainment factor, it doesn't really follow like a formulaic, like it doesn't follow a formula. Sometimes it could be the tonality. Sometimes it could be the sporadic randomness that comes into the session. You know, sometimes they'll stop the session and say, hey, I really need to do this now. This just comes in. I'm going to unbox this raw, you know, unfiltered in front of you. And that's entertaining. That's really exciting for me. Just kind of like to segue into that. And I think and to go into how to make like a successful like live stream strategy is really figuring out what's entertaining to your consumers. And I think that's really the key, because like with that entertainment factor, you're getting them into your first session, right? And I think that's really key. And then with that, that's where the trust factor comes in. And I think I've never seen a successful live stream session that doesn't position the deal as something beneficial to the consumer. And every single deal that really works at a live stream session, it's a massive discount. I would never have gotten that elsewhere, you know. And even if I need one of a kind, I would buy two just to get that discount, you know, and give it to a friend, you know. And I think really structuring that is not just about slashing prices. It's really understanding what makes sense to your consumer and factoring it into that deal. And sometimes, you know, create that sense of exclusivity. You know, if you're gonna sell it at a certain price and just for today, stick to it, you know, and even if, you know, you still have stocks at the back of your room or at the back of your warehouse, don't sell it the next day because you're gonna break the trust. And I think that's where that's where a lot of the component and element that needs to go into factoring what makes like a really successful live stream strategy, especially when it comes to live stream shopping.
I love the fact like the offer, it is a very important element, right? Because it is when we're discussing with our clients about live shop streaming, and love that you mentioned that the offer, the price has to be exclusive for that moment, right? For that 30-minute, 1 hour moment. Because there is no point of creating an offer for the live streaming and then on the next day, everyone has access to that same offer. And for those that were there engaging with the live, purchasing real time, to see on the next day, oh, great. So now everyone has access to the same offer that I had. What is the main point here? So I think it's very important that entertainment, as you said, is a key factor, but how to add the element of the offer, exclusive offer into the mix and create something that is so not just aspirational, but something that you're gonna think, wow, I need to get this because it's so unique, it's so exclusive for this moment, and why not? And to break that trust on the next day and offering the same offer, the same product is just, it is just saying to a brand, okay, don't even try to do a live streaming shopping again because you just break the trust here, right? So I think the live shop streaming, the way I see, is all about really creating that unique experience, which is unique to that moment, right? It's like I'm creating this special 31 hour, you know, live for you audience to be part of something that is being created for you. So I think that is a great point that you made it here, because when discussing strategies, as I mentioned with clients, that's the question that comes very often. Like, can we offer the same offer on the next day to carry on stock? No, you can't.
And I think it's quite important also, like, to use the power and the knowledge, the insight that KOLs or influencers have for this. Like within the strategies that we create in MG Empower, we truly believe that those insights are so valuable that perhaps as an idea just popping out here, for example, what about doing a pre-campaign before going to the live and allowing the creators even to ask their audience what type of a special benefit would they like to have within these lives? Because coming from the audience, then the engagement and the excitement to go into the live will be even higher. And what you said about the most important thing about live stream is that it has transformed the way we understand engagement and how we go into the live stream, knowing how to approach that engagement and how to raise it. I think it's quite important. And we have that power when we collaborate with creators, when we collaborate together to understand what the audience is looking forward to see in these lives, to get from these lives. Then the connection, it becomes so clear and so direct that it's what we look forward in marketing, that it seems a seamless experience. Like, it's so obvious they would gonna do that, but it's so brilliant, right? But it's about understanding how to work with creators and how to benefit both parties to, at the end of the day, create a customer journey that it's relevant.
And just to add on, I think like the one key thing to learn from creators is like just to have fun with it. Sometimes there are live stream sessions that is just completely unstructured. It came out of nowhere. But that's probably like one of the best sessions compared to the one that's kind of like structured and scheduled. There's sometimes like the creators I follow will just drop in and be like, hey, I decided to just do a live stream right now because I love you guys and let's do something fun with it. I think that's where sometimes taking a page out of the creator's book, it really changes things, and it makes it like even more magical or wonderful.
Absolutely. And then going back to what Andrea said, the co-creation between brands and creators, I think, is a key factor of success for any, brands and creators collaboration, because once you do it together as a form of co-creation is when you see magic, because the creators, they really know their audience, right? And the brands, they know their product and they know what they wanted to achieve in terms of conversions, in terms of awareness. But in order for the brands to succeed, they really need to get the creators' audience and engage with the audience. And who better knows the audience than the creators? So I think more and more, and I totally agree with you, get the influencer briefing, remove a few pages and let the creators, to go with it with their own creativity, because they really know how to approach and how to engage in the tone of voice. Because sometimes everything is so structured, right? So when you do a live streaming shopping, you go and then you create the timetable and the times, that what time each creator will be saying this or that. And it's the same for an influencer briefing when you're doing a campaign. The influencer briefing has like 15 pages where what they have to do, how they have to shoot their content, the do's and don'ts. And it's suffocating for the creators, because let them to just send a simple briefing and let them to add that value into what you're trying to create, because then is when we see the magic really, really, really happen. So I'm a big, fan of getting creators to co-create it with brands, co-created strategy, co-created live shop streaming, co-created anything, because it's so important to get their insights, because at the end of the day, they know, right?
You read my mind. You just read it entirely. Just leave like a little section that's blank and ask the creator, what would you like to do? I get it, do's and don'ts, those are really important for the brand. Leave a little room for like spontaneity, like something that's surprising.
No, absolutely. There's one creator that I'm a big fan from Brazil, and the way she's co-creating with her clients is like, as soon as she gets the briefing, she goes to her Instagram stories and say, I received a new briefing from one of my clients. They wanted to promote this product, which I love, I've been using for months, but I wanted to hear from you how you would like to see that post coming when I have to recommend this product. How do you see it to engage more with you? So she shared the briefing with the audience first and getting all the insights from the audience. And then after weeks, she goes there and create the content, the paid content but based on the size of her audience, she's exploding in Brazil right now because it's so unique. And she's very open heart. She goes like, oh, this week, and then she tells how many she has. So this week I have 5 briefings. One for a chocolate brand, one for, a TV brand. So, and then she shares the briefing, get the insights, and create the content. And I think that is so authentic, and that's so engaging, because then the audience is looking forward to see, okay, do you think she gathered our insights and she's gonna put something that we actually said to her to do? And she does, and the engagement goes like beyond.
You have to send me the handle. I'm gonna follow her. She just gained a new follower.
I will send you. and Siang, and like, how does influencer marketing, like, how is this evolving in Asia right now? So what are the trends? What brands are doing apart from the live streaming, and then of course the social commerce? Tell us a little bit, our audience here, what's happening there right now.
Wow, where do I start? Let's see. Well, since we're still talking about live stream shopping, maybe let me just touch base a little bit of like what the platforms are doing right now. Especially in China, there's so many different platforms right now that it's really merging content discovery and shopping together. It would be almost impossible for you to find a platform that doesn't have a shopping capability attached to it. So Douyin, which is TikTok's Chinese equivalent, has its own store right now. So as you're browsing through like different TikTok videos or Douyin videos, you can actually go on to Douyin store and buy the product, and they even have their own native like payment solutions. So you can have a little Douyin wallet that kind of like comes into that ecosystem, and the platforms are pretty competitive as well. So Douyin would have their own kind of like e-commerce store as well as payment solution. So would Kuaishou, which is very similar to Douyin. And almost every single platform right now would have their own e-commerce store, their own payment solution. And for the traditional like Alibaba, like Taobao, Tmall, those kind of e-commerce stores as well, they have also kind of like developed their own content discovery platforms too. So it's almost impossible to find a platform that doesn't have a content element and an e-commerce shopping element to it. So I think that's kind of like a big part when it comes to China, platforms in China.
That's insane. And that's what is creating the path for platforms in Western Europe, in Latin America, because you guys are so upfront in the future about how social media and consumer behavior, more than social media, how consumer behavior for new generations is transforming. Because as we were reading, we're always looking to research, being on top of trends here at MG Empower. And we were reading about Gen Z and how Gen Z, for example, is going into dark social more than normal social. So we're like, what's dark social? And dark social is all about messaging apps, WhatsApp, Telegram, and WeChat in Asia. And how are those platforms evolve to allow brands to track analytics on those channels? Because right now they don't. And seeing how you were talking about, sorry for my pronunciation, Asian pronunciation, Douyin and Gushcloud, if I'm right, how they're evolving into not only being discovery but also social commerce apps. It's just insane. And it's just about asking ourselves, like, what's the next step then on these dark social platforms? How are they gonna lead the path to now be able to shop and entertain? That is something very important for Gen Z. They're not looking just for shopping and discovering. They're looking for entertainment. These platforms for them, it's all about entertainment. Like for millennials, it was all about discovering content and making our lives easier. But these people, it's all about entertainment. They're not looking for anything else. And if they, through entertainment, then go into commerce, that's great. But that's not their main focus, right? So how are these platforms going to evolve into that point? that for us, I think it's mesmerizing, and we always keep like searching about it. What's the next step? What's the next step? So yeah, thank you for that, for the insights that you're giving us already.
I'm gonna add a comment that say like my wallet's hurting, like because if you if you were to browse and then you're tempted to buy. So I think it's also a balancing act as well. I think for some of these platforms whereby sometimes I'm really just there for content and not be tempted to spend more money, and even though you ended up doing so. But at the same time, Andrea, thanks for bringing up dark social. I think that's kind of like a big part of also what's kind of like still undercurrent, but I think it's also equally important in some of the developments of the social platforms. But how do you balance like content discovery, being entertained, but at the same time also kind of like going back to like how social platforms started, which is like creating that connection with one another, connection with fans, great, with 1 million fans, but at the same time, sometimes I want to hit up, Maira for like a one-to-one call, and just really talk, have a heart to heart. How do social platforms still kind of maintain that element? I think that's a tough balancing act to answer in the next couple of years.
And do you have an answer for yourself? Like how do? Because I am with you. Like, what is the balance that we will see, right? Because we need that human connection, but more and more, like, despite the fact that we love social platforms, right? We do that for living. We create strategies, we create beautiful campaigns, engaging campaigns, live streaming, entertainment. We love that. But we see that the evolution of so many social platforms out there, because there are so many, right? Like, even when you think about Snapchat, like what Snapchat is doing right now is incredible, right? So like here in Europe, we see like how Snapchat is growing in terms of engagement, especially with the Gen Zers, which we thought that would never gonna be possible because the TikTok was the platform to go for the Gen Z. But now we're seeing a lot of Gen Zers going to Snap as well, because they're creating so many forms of entertainment there, but as well as the social comments, as well as the chat, as well as the filters, and then it's like it's becoming a platform that you can see the news. You don't even need to go to any BBC News to get the news. You see all the news on Snap. So it is kind of like, wow. So where this gonna lead us to the human connection, right? Because sometimes you feel like, why I'm gonna call Siang? I can just snap him here or send him, a WeChat, and then I can get the answer. But I think it's important that the human connection is to exist, because what's gonna happen if we don't have, especially with the pandemic? I don't know how is this for you, but stay at home for over a year and not having that human connection and just all about social, you make you realize like, wow, I really like to go outside, I really like to see people, but it's just, I think the pandemic kind of escalate the use of social in a way. Do you think the same?
I would say like I don't have an answer because like I wish I have, but a vague kind of I've been pondering about this for quite a bit. While it's great that commerce and content discovery are kind of like coming together, I think like ultimately we will come to a point whereby we need to think about how do you consciously consume. Conscious consumption will probably be kind of like the next thing to look about. When you're faced with so many options, right? I can go to Douyin, I can go to TikTok for like entertainment, like 5 seconds, 30 seconds, and now like a minute or even 5 minutes video. But would I ever go onto TikTok for something longer than 10 minutes, right? And that's when like YouTube steps in, right? And I think like ultimately a lot of us need to make very conscious decision about how we consume. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is Twitter just launched Spaces, which is kind of like a Clubhouse rivalry, and I thought it was brilliant for Twitter to do that, not because of like like the whole copying Clubhouse thing, but I think when it comes to the DNA of Twitter, when it comes to it, it's all about facilitating like conversation. I thought it was brilliant for spaces to kind of ride on Twitter. And when I used it, it was so intuitive because I struggled with Clubhouse myself, right? It's great. It's a great platform, but I struggle to constantly be on Clubhouse myself when it started. But then when Twitter rolled out Spaces, it was a lot more intuitive for me, and I thought like it made more sense for me to like use Spaces. And no shade to Clubhouse, I'm still a fan, but I would say like Twitter and Spaces make a lot more sense to me.
Interesting. And it's just interesting to see what's happening with Clubhouse now, right? It is being a big momentum for them, but I'm not sure if they're gonna be able to sustain that momentum, especially now like platforms like Twitter creating the same, a tool that Clubhouse has created. It is kind of, the same in a way. So let's see what is the audience, because I think the format of audio is still going to be something that is going to continue to be something that the platforms will continue to invest, right? Because they saw through Clubhouse that there is an appetite for audio content. And I think it's just like how this audio content will evolve in the next few months across all the social platforms will be very interesting.
I totally agree. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of like another kind of like topic that I would love to talk about another day.
Yes, for sure. Siang, we could stay here forever talking because we love to talk about everything about influencer marketing, social commerce, and then you have added so much value on the live streaming content here that I'm pretty sure our audience will be so delighted to hear everything you mentioned about live streaming and all the tips that we have gave to us here. Andrea, do you have any other final questions to Siang before we wrap up?
Yes, I think it will be really, really nice to wrap up, touching back on that human aspect that you both mentioned and how brands need to be aware of ethical consumption, and building, like not allowing the consumer in a good sense to lose that human connection. And then what I would like to ask you, Siang, is how in Asia, how are you guys creating that omni-channel strategy where you combine the best about digital, live stream, social commerce that the pandemic has like brought to us, and how we've learned how the consumer likes to have that digital capability and facility, but also how are we bringing them back to stores, physical stores, and how are we combining both the best of both worlds in an omni-channel strategy in an ethical way? Because again, as we go back to stores, we're able to regain that proximity of our human relationships, because it's all about, oh, I'm going shopping with my friends, or I'm going shopping, like it's a moment to share. So how in Asia are you guys building up that? Because we've read that as restrictions were easing in Asia, stores sales were booming. That first week, the numbers were up incredible. So how are you guys combining those two worlds?
Oh, sure. I think just to kind of like ride off of what you just shared, I think you can never replace the magic of a physical experience. And also the unlimited, like the limitless possibility of what a physical experience could bring. And I think like traditionally we've always looked at digital experience and physical experience as two separate things. I think like that line that divides will soon becomes a little bit more complementary. I wouldn't say we've cracked it over here, because right now it still feels like, oh, digital commerce is a touch point, and then you could go into the physical store to experience the sample, the good, and to pick it up. It still feel not as seamless as it should be. But I think like in the next couple of years, we're gonna and I guess that's the silver lining of the pandemic, whereby it really pushes a lot of us into embracing that digital commerce experience. I don't buy grocery anymore. I wanted to share with you guys. I buy my frozen seafood from Livestream sellers over here in Malaysia.
Love that. I don't go to the grocery at all, by the way. I don't buy from live streaming, but I buy from apps. So I don't think I've been in a grocery in the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing that gets delivered to my house is as fresh as like what I would normally would have, spend like an hour or two just to the supermarket and get it myself. So I think like kind of like pushing us to embrace that digital commerce, but not forgetting that when the pandemic and lockdown's over and when we kind of like learn how to coexist with, the new variant and whatnot, um, how does the digital commerce experience complement the physical stores? Because we still need these physical spaces. People always say that retails would die, but I disagree. I think retail still has a very special place in part of a brand strategy. And like I said, you can never experience parts of like, the digital experience, you could replace it visually, could replace part of like the auditory experience, but for you to be able to touch something and to really kind of like interact with one another in a more meaningful way, I think that's where like physical and retail still has a very special place in the market. And I think like rather than shifting everything into digital, I think as agencies, as brands, as consumers, we got to think about how do we support retail when the economy reopens, because we can't lose them. We need them.
Totally agree with you. And then it is exactly what you said, the way I see. I don't think retails will die at all, because we need them, we need those experiences, but it's how we're going to be able to strategically and be very smart of how digital and physical space will complement each other, and what would be the experience that you're going to provide from a brand on the digital aspect, and what that experience will be when you go to a physical space, because they have to be different experience, right? So I think it's just more how to elevate both in a way that both will be unique experience and drive the awareness, the conversion, and create the most unique and authentic experience. Because I think more than ever, we, again, as a consumers, as you said, as a brand, as an agency, we're looking for experience, and we're looking for a memorable experience. Even if that experience comes to purchase a product, we need to feel that we have, be able to experience something that is very authentic, very unique, and very thought through about us consumer.
And then it's a one united journey. It's not two separate paths. I think that's where we need to think about.
Exactly. Siang, what a pleasure. I think we definitely need to do a second podcast together with a different with a different topic. It's been incredible. So grateful to have had you here. We worked together before, and now we are here on this podcast discussing so many incredible things about the future of influencer marketing, the presence, where this is going to lead us as a consumers. So thank you so much for the time from be all the way from Malaysia to here with us in London. We are all in London, so I love the fact that our podcast is very internationally. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and let me know when's the next one.
Yes, we will, for sure. For everyone that has been listening us today, thank you so much for being here with us on this almost 1 hour, I think, podcast. Hope we have engaged you to stay with us until the end, because this conversation was so special, so unique. So thank you so much, everyone that joined us on our Influencer Marketing Uncover podcast, for being here. Please follow us on our social medias, MG Power. Sign up for our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And I look forward to see you guys again. And Siang and Andrea, once again, thank you so much.